Hey, and welcome back to the Artificial DM. Hope you are all doing well. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Instead of looking at Reddit, we're going to be going over to some old 4chan threads. This one is going to be concerning the worst character concepts you have ever seen in a tabletop game. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these tales. I know there have been similar threads, but we as TG need a thread concerning the worst character concepts you have ever seen in a tabletop game. I will share my experience. In a D&D game, a person tried to make a half-elf, half-demon, half-air elemental. I told them that they couldn't have 3 halves, and they said, "Thirds then." I asked them how they could be a third of each, and she said, duh, orgy. Playing a game of Serenity, annoying guy who cannot roleplay puts all of his points into being a ship pilot, when we already had a pilot from the last session, and then insists on attacking people with a knife. Yeah, the DM dropped reavers on him. DM's girlfriend made a character that was 7 foot tall, an obvious herm, her words, and also had this musk that made other women come to her and bow down in servitude. She got pissed when the rest of the party treated her like a big smelly dick girl. I haven't encountered a whole lot of players with outlandish characters to the point of failure. Generally, outlandish characters have been tasteful. For example, the greatsword-wielding orc fighter with too many cross-class skill points in knowledge and diplomacy. Generally, when I see a bad character, it is just the opposite. Gaming in high school, for instance, I saw no end to silent thieves named Shadow, or something equally hideous, or silent rangers, who served no purpose but to fill things with arrows. It was always the same 2 players, cycling through the same few awful characters too. No personality to them, never speaking. Just waiting for the party leader, always the same player, usually playing the same character, a female spellcaster, usually a cleric and usually nobility if not royalty, to tell them what to kill. Damn. Forced to recall it all now. I wonder why I ever got into D&D with that as my introduction. Lawful neutral fighter with ranks in hide, intimidate, and something else. As a child, he had a drunk father who would beat him and drink away all of the family's money, while concurrently being unable to hold down a job for any length of time. He came to the conclusion that when his father was drunk, which was most of the time, that being found equaled being beaten. So he spent the better part of his childhood doing odd jobs for food and money and hiding from his father. When he reached legal age, he joined the local military and never looked back. He's of the mindset that if everything in the world were orderly and well regulated, then nothing bad could happen. He's a fervent believer in the law and despises disorder of any kind. That, TG, is the worst character concept I've ever seen. Where are his superpowers? I don't really know. It was my first role-playing campaign, and I've only played one mediocre game of D&D after. Although, I did get into an epic sniper battle with a min-maxed NPC. Damn it, don't use a min-maxer's character as an NPC's, where I used up all of my plot points keeping the rolls even. So instead of getting hit, we just shot each other's bullets out of mid-air 3 times in a row, and then I got winged by the guy, so I couldn't join in the main fight. This one fine fellow during a D&D game decided to try to lecture us about real sword fighting, and the lectures went on until we told him we really didn't care. So he decided he would show us real sword fighting. He made this complex character using 3 stupid exacting feats, and described to us all what he was doing, and why he was taking the feats, and why everything was working the way it was. It was just yet another vanilla fighter, but what made it horrible is that he wanted everything to be perfectly accurate to a setting that thrives on fantasy. Our DM had him fight something that was perfectly inaccurate, a minotaur that bashed his face into the ground. We had a player who wanted to play a World War II Nazi super soldier in our D&D game. The guy's name was Wolfgang Kriegerson, and he was also head of the SS Paranormal Division and had Gatling guns for fists. It was horrible. One girl in our party wanted to play someone who was dying of a terrible wasting disease that made her still beautiful despite going off to the side and politely coughing into a handkerchief and a bit of blood coming up. Drama, blood, dying. Until the cleric in the party just healed her. Then she started bitching. Half-Golem. Someone tried to make a half-golem that was a kid that had been turned into a big metal golem. Sound familiar? This was all fun and games until the DM made us fight someone that turned it to rust. Then the kid kept saying, "I killed the wizard!" And the DM would say, "You can't move." And the kid would keep getting more pissed, just yelling, "I killed the wizard!" Floop. I've had one terrible player for years, which I've finally gotten rid of. This is a player that can't even for the life of them come up with anything even resembling original, and who thinks character depth is being really bitchy to NPCs and other players. There were 3 characters of hers in particular that I can recall. A female pirate that was an exact clone of Jack Sparrow, minus anything that made him actually funny, a tiefling ninja, dual-wielding whips, and a character that was quite literally just Hildy from Soul Calibur 4, right down to the name and exact appearance. I played with a man. This man played an evil cleric. This evil cleric was not a particularly bad character so much, as the evil cleric fulfilled this man's lust to hurt his real friends. When this evil cleric heals people, it was told by the DM that the wound sealing felt like acid and left scars and a taint upon the soul. We were not an evil party. We were only the guys that followed along with the evil cleric because his evil healings were like an evil hand upon our blackened hearts, squeezing them to death unless we were evilly healed by this evil cleric's evil god. Evil perhaps, evil you, evil understand, evil why, evil we, evil didn't, evil bashed a baby with a flooping warhammer to gain an intimidation bonus to his negotiation for magic items, evil like this evil cleric. Evil. A female halfling rogue called Shinabi, played by a weeaboo attention whore, who just had to use a say and called everyone San or Chan nicknames in the most irritating manner. The barbarian was Rage-san, the paladin was Palisama, the cleric was Eya-chan. The first big fight had an evil necromancer incinerate her as a testament to his evil ways, even though everyone said it made him instantly likable. Censor, it's been policy of mine to insta-kill anime characters at the first available opportunity. Thankfully, I've been more discerning about who I game with, so it doesn't happen often. Some of the character concepts here have been making my skin crawl. From a D20 sci-fi campaign where 2 factions fought, one made up of a unified military, and one made up of a large ragtag collection of colonists, eco-terrorists, and mercenaries. One player, who was the trenchcoat and katana persuasion of character making, made a large, semi-bionic tough guy in a trenchcoat, whose body was covered in terrible burn scars, whose entire life was constant pain and hate, my parents are dead! Upon his introduction, he threatened pretty much everyone, and probably would have been killed off if the group hadn't folded not too long after. I did get away with slapping him on the back though. Oddly enough, the worst character concept I've ever seen was one of my own. Not because it was an anime character, not because it was a Mary Sue, but because I deliberately built him with the sole purpose of dying. During character creation, I initially planned on playing a rogue. However, the roles I was coming up with for the stats were quite abysmal. The first set yielded nothing better than an 11, the second fared worse, but the third set, the DM allowed 3 rerolls, was the best of them all. A 17, 2 16s, a 12, a 10, and a 3. Yes, a 3. When the 3 was rolled, the DM got a gigantic shit-eating grin and reminded me that since this was my last reroll, I had to stick with these stats. I then decided I was going to make a paladin of Alidamara, the god of rogues and bards. This, of course, meant multiclassing fighter, cleric, and bard and putting the 3 into strength. I took weapon finesse, got a masterwork rapier, bought the most worthless throwaway magic item possible, filled a Heward's handy haversack with useless mundane items, and dumped max skill ranks into perform. Combat consisted of putting items together in a weird combination to turn the tides of battle. A lot of plans involved intricate pulley systems and showers of alchemical items. Tried actually attacking straight on, didn't do too well. Neg 4 strength penalty to damage on a 1d6 rapier didn't work. Had to retreat. Scary thing, however, is how long he survived. Went over half the campaign without coming close to death. Took the party about that long to figure out what classes I was playing too. What did me in was a stupid climbing competition. Party had to race to the top of the tower, and me, with my 3 strength, was guaranteed to fail every check. I, of course, was the only one to carry around a knotted rope and grappling hook. I threw it, secured it on a ledge, and started climbing up it, when one of the big stupid fighters climbed up and physically threw me off the rope. I, of course, did the smart thing and used my bardic suggestion to convince him that the rope was made of angry snakes, and he probably should let go. He did, took 2d6 falling damage, and proceeded to hit me with his big magic sword. I was at full HP, though this admittedly wasn't much. He got one hit in, dealing 3d6 damage right off the bat. Except he was built for crits and rolled a 15, just within his crit range, and dealt another 3d6 damage. Then his chromatic burst weapon went off, hitting me for another crap ton of damage. Then his stupid huge strength total was added in, and I was at -10 exactly. The look on his face when the heretofore unidentified Ring of Vengeance took him out was priceless. Which, if you don't know what the Ring of Vengeance does, this gold ring glows softly when worn by a good aligned creature. If the wearer of the ring dies, an arc of divine energy leaps from the ring and deals 15d6 points of damage to the creature that dealt the killing blow. Get wrecked! My DM's girlfriend had a female ranger elf in Warhammer 40k roleplay. Now, one would think that was bad enough. The problem came when she roleplayed. The character could have been salvageable if not for the fact that her roleplaying spectrum was between love and peace and hey, look how cheeky I am when facing certain dangers in the form of lolly vampires and demons. I swear to Paler, when we met the BBG, she said, "What's up, bad guy?" She roleplayed elves like she was roleplaying a retarded Hollywood comic relief character. Vampire the Masquerade Nightmares Man. I was a gangrel sheriff and had taken into custody another player's Malkavane, who was your stereotypical annoying fishmalk. Eventually, my character got tired of his incel antics, such as singing Old McDonald's Farm over and over again, so I tied him to a chair and gagged him. My character says, "Listen, Slim, you're a malk, not a blithering retard. Calm it down, or I start yanking out the important teeth." Everyone in games I run insists on being evil little floops, beating the crap out of drunk pirates at a tavern, killing traveling merchants on roads after helping them, stealing money, houses, anything worth more than 1 silver piece, etc. My first group vehemently protested that killing merchants and taking their wagon of goods was not evil, because they were all chaotic neutral, and can do whatever the floop they want, lols! Maggots, that pissed me off bad. So I put an inconceivably powerful magical lock on the merchant's trunk, yet they still carried it around in hopes of someday opening it. Another group just wants to kill people and take their crap, so a couple kill a merchant in the streets before taking a boat out of town the next day. Too bad the merchant's assassin friends noticed who did it, and bribed the ship captain to come aboard and kill the player character the next night while at sea. One died in the attack, the other was severely wounded and poisoned. Serves those dicks right, evil doesn't go unpunished. Probably the worst character I've seen was an Inquisitor character with a daemon weapon with every single bonus that added damage, plus a perk that made him auto-crit, along with a whole bunch of annoying skills that made him a CC god. In the end, I just said floop it, and faced him against an obliterator. Base stat 120, wisdom save 120, strength 90, T90 power armor. Can use any weapon in the game once. Dual wielding one-handed ones, no to hit penalties for auto-fire, always counts as stationary. Cannot be disarmed. Who ripped him apart at range with a pair of storm bolters. It felt good. Anyone who completely ignores the fact that NPCs are characters and therefore people. Even homicidal sociopaths wouldn't be able to get through life treating everyone they meet like a piece of meat. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. A lot of these stories were very short, not even one paragraph for a couple, but I thought it would be something fun for us to look at. Thanks for watching. That will do it for today. And until next time, hope you feel inspired.